Good evening. How are you today? Well, marvelous up here in Maine, and the temperature is about 65. And we have an approaching hurricane, which will arrive Friday night and sit on top of Maine on Saturday. And I don't know yet what it's going to mean to our travel plans, but we're not going to be foolish. The stories that are interesting is we have that escaped prisoner who was recaptured, and then they did a bragging photograph with him. Very bad taste. The worst I remember is ATF in Waco took a trophy photo like that with the compound burning down behind them, which I think resulted in the death of children and adults. You know, does anybody ever learn? Ever? Yes, they did good police work, and then they ruin it with these kinds of trophy pictures. Bad stuff. Georgia continues, in my mind, to be the centerpiece in this way. Who's going to trial October 23rd? How many? Now, the prosecution says everybody, all hands on deck. And one of the reasons is some parties have asserted speedy trial rights. That means it has to be tried within a certain period, and for most people that's before November, and October 23rd is before November. Some defendants are now waiving their speedy trial rights, saying, I'm not going to assert them. And I've always said in criminal cases when the prosecutor's been packing snowballs to throw at you, that they had a chance to put them together. And so justice delayed is justice for the defendant usually, because they use the time to prepare. The hope of these defendants is to say by waiving speedy trial, they can say to the judge, hey, you can set our trials at any time, we don't care. The judge may think otherwise because there are other considerations, because to waive speedy trial doesn't mean that you can insist on the schedule you would prefer. So there is that. We have, I don't know if we have a good chance. There's an even chance because the judge is not excited about trying 4-month trials one after another with different defendants. And there are good and bad reasons for that. And the local sheriff said they had a trial with as many as 28 defendants. And so that's a statement right there. Big enough room, sensible judge. But then, the questions are, have they given all the discovery? Are there objections to it, and so forth? And once you start the trial, you can then move it along as quickly or as slowly as you can. And that may be part of it. And then there'll be jury selection too, and that could take weeks on a case like this. So it remains to be seen, but I think the prosecution, from the prosecution standpoint, has the right idea, and the defense is always better off, almost always, waiving speedy trial rules and allowing themselves, hopefully, the time to prepare. This case is not that case. This case is different. The other things that are going on, which are kind of interesting, is that we have Meadows is asking the circuit court to reconsider the lower court's ruling that he is an inappropriate public officer, given that he was involved in campaigning, to have his case removed to federal court. That is the trial. And the court is going to hear argument from the parties, basically, if I have my dates right, by the end of the month. In other words, an expedited appeal. So theoretically, depending on what the court does and if they have oral argument, they could wrap this up by the first week in October. They could. Will that happen? Can't say. Can't say. And they might issue an opinion. They might issue an order with opinion to follow for time reasons. Okay, so that's our boy Meadows. If you've heard, the moon seems to be having earthquakes. And they're having earthquakes in part because we have, I think, an old Land Rover there or some other equipment that is making these sounds and noises up there. So there's that. Isn't that fun? We have a lot of things going on. I've thought for myself it would be a kick to go to Georgia for this trial. I don't know if my caseload obligations would allow it, and I wouldn't want to do it if I couldn't get in the courtroom. So that's kind of an iffy thing. The time that it takes to get there and be somewhere and to be safe, argue against it. The fact that it's in a historic trial, it makes me want to go there all the more. So we'll see about that. So this is a relatively short walk, just bulletins, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye from my location in Maine. Bye-bye.